This video is to review the sync equipment tool. First, you want to make sure that your equipment that you're syncing to is already placed in your model or is in a linked model before you run the tool. First, run sync equipment. Now, this tool is modeless, so you can leave it open. While you're working in Revit, you can also move it to different screens. The first thing you want to do is select what you want to sync from. Commonly, it's used for mechanical equipment, but you can see it can also be used for other items, furniture, data devices, security devices, etc. For this example, I'm going to use mechanical equipment. You can also select different phases if you're doing just existing equipment or just new construction to help narrow down your list. You also can select different models that you want to point your equipment to kind of hone down on the equipment and your list. You can use all your models. So looking for, in this example, mechanical equipments in all models, whether it's within the model I'm working in or any linked models. You can point to specific linked models or just the model that you're working in. Next, you want to edit from map. What this button is doing is you are taking the piece of equipment that you want to sync to and taking those parameters and mapping it to the tool. So when I click on edit from map, now you can see some things I've already filled out. Now you don't have to fill out every single one of these, and also you don't have to do it every time. This is sort of a one-time thing when you first use the tool in each model. Now, if a parameter within your, in this case, HVAC equipment is the same as the name of the column, for example, HP. So if there is already an HP parameter that I want filled out in my RTU, I don't have to fill it out in this tool. It's automatically going to assume that name. So a lot of these could be left blank and not necessarily needed to be mapped. Equipment mark, for example. So if I was opening this tool for the first time, I would right click and you can select parameters from the current model or parameters from the linked model. In this case, my HVAC equipment is in the model that I'm working in. So I select current model, I select an example of an HVAC piece of equipment, and this will bring up a list of all the parameters that I can select from. So I'm going to select, I'm going to just type in mark as an example. You can see that that's filled out. That's the one that I want to link it to. So that's the one I want to choose. Now you can also select multiple parameters. For example, if my exhaust fan here had a different parameter, maybe it was called exhaust fan mark versus equipment mark. I could put a comma here. I could right click and select another parameter from a different piece of equipment, and that would also bring that list in. It's looking for sort of an either or, whether that mark is filled out, and it moves on from element or from parameter to parameter, and will include it in the list here in my sync equipment. You can also value filters. You see the example here of voltage. This helps narrow down your list. If you have lots of pieces of equipment, it may pick up things that you may not want it to include. So this gives you the opportunity to really narrow down your list. If you hover over value filters, you can see some examples. Here's the comma for the or. You can also do space for and then the dash 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 for blank, and exclamation point dash 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 for not blank. That's a useful syntax in order to narrow down your list. Now, once you've mapped everything, you can also always copy these if you need to. So you can copy all of them. Let's say you've done this in one model before, you could copy all and paste it into the new model that you're working on if it's always the same. So you don't have to map it every single time. You can just simply copy all and copy it to the new sync model that you're working in. The next thing you want to do is edit to map. So after what you first did was, again, map your parameters from your HVAC equipment or the equipment that you're mapping to. From the equipment to the tool, the next thing that we're doing is gathering the parameters and moving that information from the equipment essentially to now your electrical connection family. So that could be either a piece of electrical equipment type, Or it could be a fixture type. It kind of depends on how you have your family set up. So it's flexible to do either. For this one, I'm going to do electrical equipment, and it'll bring up all my electrical equipment options there when I'm mapping. And you'll see that next. So edit to map, again, same. You're going to map all the ones. So as an example description, I didn't really need to put this in. This would automatically come in. Um, but here's one that I mapped because it was different, poles and load. I had to map it to my specific parameter within my piece of electric equipment that I'm going to be circuiting. Here's another example. What I like to do is I will bring in a disconnect first as a reference. So I'll go ahead and do that. Go to Systems, bring in a piece of equipment, and I will just place that here. Let's go ahead and map it to a safety switch as an example. This could be really anything. It could be a direct connect. It doesn't have to be necessarily a hosted piece of equipment in order to work. So again, I'm just placing this so that I don't have to memorize my mapping for all my parameters in my equipment. So I'm going to, again, add a parameter for my current model. I'm going to select my disconnect. I'm going to type in what I want it to map to. In this case, I'm going to my equipment mark. So I'm going to use equipment mark. It's named safety switch now, but it'll automatically link when I place my pieces of equipment, my electrical fixtures. So I'm going to exit out of there, and now I'm mapped. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and sync, and this will bring in all of my, in this case, mechanical equipment, all phases, and use my edit map criteria so you can see only 208, 120, and 480 volt equipment are here. So the first tab that I want to go to is the not found. These are pieces of HVAC equipment that do not have an electrical equipment placed yet. So this is a great way, right before I'm getting ready to print, I can go here at any time really, and it shows me the HVAC equipment, in this case, that does not have an electrical disconnect on it. So it kind of helps with your quality control so that that's not missed. I'm going to give an example here for RTU1. I'm going to right click and I can select the type that I want to map to. I mentioned that I want to use a safety switch. I really could use anything from this list that brings in. In this case, we've used our electrical equipment as our family. Again, if you had select electrical fixture, it would bring in your electrical fixture options that are in your model. So I'm going to choose safety switch. Maybe for my air curtain, I'm going to choose a direct connect just to show that as an example. And maybe exhaust fan, I don't put anything in yet. So the next thing I want to do is I want to sync now and go back to my not found. Again, whenever you sync, you're going to lose those disconnect types. So you want to really do that one time. So again, I'm going to do that direct connect, and I'm going to go ahead and set up a couple options here. So I want to insert disconnect on just a checkbox there. And I also want to do a quick show for my mechanical equipment, meaning whenever I click on a line item, it's automatically going to zoom me to my piece of equipment, put my item that I've already matched to place it right on that piece of equipment. So it's a really quick way to hit all of your HVAC equipment and place your disconnect or whatever electrical fixture you're going to be circuiting. So I'm going to go ahead. It doesn't do great in Sheets, so I want to go ahead and just go to, I'm already on my floor plan, so it should zoom me next item that I select right to it. So if I click here, it's going to zoom me to my air curtain, place my direct connect that I've already mapped, and it's automatically linked my AC1 that I mapped my equipment mark to my equipment mark for my HVAC equipment. That's the key here, because now my other parameters, my voltage, my phase, my load, that is now going to be mapped from my HVAC equipment to my electrical piece of equipment. And we'll show you that in the next step. The exhaust fan, for example, is not mapped, but I can select it and it will give me some options to select. So maybe I want to do a toggle switch. It's going to pull up the toggle switch here. I'm able to place it. and it's going to automatically link to my exhaust fan. I'm just going to go down the list here, and you can quickly see how easy it is to place equipment and automatically link them. Now my lab gas fire unit, let's say maybe that's a direct connect. Place it, again, it's going to automatically link. So now going back to my equipment, I'm going to resync. And now it should find all of this new equipment. This is all new, so it's going to turn into red. It's also found new, everything in yellow is going to be new. And everything red is what it's changing. So by default, I don't have a phase or a voltage to my direct connect. So what this is doing is it's automatically changing it. So it's letting me know. So let's say the next time that I come in here and I change an RTU value, my HVAC engineer has changed my FLA or my MCA or my OCP. It's going to let me know next time I get in the tool, and I can show you that next. So I'm going to go to found. You can see that it's has a suggested load option. This is a lookup table based on my voltage, my phase, my horsepower, my FLA, my MCA, OCP, and those kind of items to give me a suggested load. Now I'm going to use suggested load. This is going to place these items directly into these parameters are now going to go directly, once I click update, into my pieces of equipment, my electrical equipment. So now that that update is ready, I'll give you an example here. Going over to my RTU. Here's RTU 5. And you can see my KLH load and my phase here has gone to 3, and my load has gone to the 56K that I have in here. Now, I don't have to take this, if I want to take some diversification, I could maybe take this down to 50,000 as an example. So you don't have to take the suggested load, but it is an opportunity to quickly update your loads without any calculations. So I can, again, update here, and now my RTU has changed to 50,000. Now I'm ready to circuit. My voltage is set, my phase is set. The next thing I can do is go directly into multi-circuiter and circuit. I can also select my open bulk parameter editor and update it. Once I hit close, it'll bring up that tool to help me manage my overcurrent protections if they're not loaded here. And you can see some more details on our YouTube page for that tool. But real quick, so once I'm done, I can close this.